Well, good evening and welcome to Porch Talk. I'm Paul W. Marino. Ed Morandi is at a meeting out of town. If he gets back here by 6:45, he will join us. And in the meantime, we are joined by our guest from last week, Roger Urban.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Roger.
Good to be here.
Now, I want to start things off. Oh, I forgot to mention, again, our pheasant is here. This is Phil. Hello, Phil. Oh, hello there. Yes, well, and I want to call your attention to the photograph behind us. I chose this one especially in honor of Roger, because he is our man in the cemeteries. This is a statue in Southview Cemetery, and it's a very interesting one for a variety of reasons. If you look at this, you will notice that this is a little girl, which you can tell in a number of ways. For one thing, if you look behind Roger's head, you can see her hair is long. That indicates that she's a child. Another reason you can tell she's a girl is because of the blanket that's covering her. The thing is, this child is nude. And the reason she's nude is not to be untoward, but that's to represent the innocence of childhood. You know, think about it, the average toddler doesn't care if he or she is naked or not. You know, you're among family, who cares? So if you look here near my head there, you can see the beginnings of her buttocks. And that's all you can see because of the blanket. And on the other side of her, on the front, it covers her genital area and probably her nipples as well. Now, there is another statue like this, also in Southview, that's down near the Faxon Bowen lot. That one is of a little boy. He's not as well proportioned as she is. If you look at her, you notice she's on the chubby side, which is natural for toddlers. And her legs are in proportion to her arms and so on. This little boy, his legs are out of proportion. But he doesn't have a blanket on him. Instead, his left leg is placed forward to cover what would be considered untoward in anyone except a child. So I hope you're happy with this statue.
I've learned.
Oh, good. Oh, God.
Oh, gosh.
So let's go on to our next background picture. There we go. And I'm going to pull back this way a little bit. And would you take the phone number off, please? No, not go to the credits. There we go. Excellent. Oh, dear God. It's reassuring to know you're on the job, Emily. Now, this photo, and again, I'm going to try to get out of the way. This photo is of a railroad crossing here in North Adams. This railroad crossing no longer exists. Oh, thank you. That's even better. Well, I'm not sure my mother would have agreed, but... So this photo, as I say, it's a railroad crossing that does not exist anymore. If you were alive in North Adams before 1940, you might well recognize where this railroad crossing was. And there is a building that shows here that might give you an extra clue. So, if you think you know where this railroad crossing was, please give us a call at 664-4408, and we will let you on, and you can tell us what you know or what you think you know. And of course, one thing I especially love about this is notice the cobblestones and the trolley track that was there.
Right.
And I believe they're still down there. If you ripped up the pavements there now, you would get down to a level where there's still the original paving stones and the trolley track. Now, unfortunately, you're not allowed to guess because you're on the show. But if you want to write down a guess, I can tell you whether you're right or wrong.
I haven't a clue.
I've heard that about you.
That's right.
Now, before we get into our conversation with Roger, I have some announcements here. Some of them I made 2 weeks ago, but they're still valid. Coming up on Monday, February 26th at 5 p.m., the Northern Berkshire Community Coalition is having its monthly forum on the subject of mental health in youth. And this forum was organized by youth in the community. It's going to be a wonderful thing to see, and I advise everyone in the community to go see it, especially if you've never been to a forum of the Northern Berkshire Community Coalition before.
Very timely.
Yes. It's taking place at the Green, 87 Main Street here in North Adams. If you want information on it, you can call the coalition at 663-7588. Coming up on Thursday, February 22nd at 6 p.m., the North Adams Public Library and the Family Center are having their free Lego playgroup. And this is the actual toy that you pick up and put the pieces together. This is for families with kids ages 4 to 12. It's taking place at the North Adams Public Library in their third floor conference room. On Friday the 23rd at 7:30 a.m., the 18th Annual Berkshire Disability Legislative Breakfast is happening at the Berkshire Hills Country Club, 500 Benedict Road in Pittsfield. It costs $16, and you can register at 413-499-4241. Oh, let me see here. Tomorrow, well, as we film this, tomorrow is, of course, the Winterfest. And part of that is going to be, there are going to be rides in a horse-drawn wagon. And, you know, it's amazing how well a horse can draw a wagon. Just
Really?
give it a pencil and it's just amazing. Go ahead and hit me. I'm asking for it. So at any rate, there's going to be hot chocolate. There's going to be ice sculpture. There's going to be free ice skating down at the Veterans Memorial Skating Rink. And at the public library at 10 a.m., they're going to be showing the film Cool Runnings, which is, of course, about the Jamaican bobsled team. That is free. Wonderful movie.
It's a good movie.
Now, another big thing that's happening is you've no doubt heard about the Hoosick River Revival's plan to revitalize the Hoosick River. This is a terrific project. I'm involved in this myself. I'm an advisor to the board. And they are having 2 informational sessions. The first is on Wednesday, February 21, 11:30 a.m. to 1 o'clock p.m. at the Uno Community Center at 157 River Street here in North Adams. They will be serving lunch at this meeting. And if you are interested in hearing what they're doing, if you're worried about them just tearing out the flood control chutes, worry no more. Go to one of these meetings. The second one is Wednesday, February 28, 5:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. at the Green, 87 Main Street here in North Adams. And I have one other announcement I feel obliged to pass along, and that is that Spectrum, in its infinite wisdom, is changing our channel numbers again. When they first went digital, we were told that if you had the box, our numbers would still be 15, 16, and 17. But if you were taking the line direct, you would have to go to 19.1, 19.2, and 19.3. And of course, they messed this up very nicely because instead of channel 15 becoming 19.1, channel 16 became 19.1, channel 17 became 19.2, and 15 became 19.3. So now our numbers are changing to 1301, 1302, and 1303. So the next time this show is on live, we will be on those figures. And at this point, we still don't know which ones our separate channels will be. So with that happy news out of the way, remember this is a live call-in show. If you have something to talk about, please give us a call, 664-4408. And keep in mind that what we want to do with this show is we want to avoid politics, if at all possible. We want to look at good things that are happening in the community. So if you have something good happening, if you have an announcement to get out about something's happening, please give us a call and we'll put you on. And with that being said, I turn the floor over to Roger Urban. And I don't mean literally turn the floor over to you. You cannot take it home with you.
Okay. You had mentioned that we'd like to discuss the cemetery for a bit, and of course,
Yes.
we can do that. We are about to embark on our work at the Hillside for this year.
And this will be your fourth year?
This will be our fourth year. We'll be working the same schedules. We work every Wednesday and every other Saturday, and we'll be starting at the end of end of March, rather. At that point, we'll take our tools down and get everything ready, and then first week in April, we'll be at it. We will be working, finishing up the north side. We have about 4 lots that need to be finished, and we have some winter damage. A few of the stones didn't survive the wind and the cold, so we have to resurrect those. And then after we finish that lovely portion, we'll be moving across the street. Now, the interesting thing about part of where we're going to be working is it's up over the hill. It's behind the hill. You cannot see it from the roadway. We discovered a couple of lots back there that were completely covered with brush. I couldn't find anything in the city records as to the names of the people there. We do have about 5 or 6 stones left on the right-hand side and quite a few on the left.
Well, of course, something you have to remember is that entire hill, and we're talking about the hill that's on the north side adjacent to Brown Street.
Right.
That entire hill was originally Potter's Field.
Right. Now,
If you look at the plot map, and I have a copy, not here, of course, but it's marked off and it says Widow Knight's Land occupied free. So that was our first Potter's Field.
right. And that may account for some of the stones that are down there. Normally, they didn't put stones in for those folks because they were rather expensive in those days, or actually less expensive than they are now, for sure. But it was a cost, and sometimes they just didn't do that to put up a wooden cross or something of that sort. But we'll be up there nevertheless, and I think there's about 5 on the right-hand side that we need to do, and probably about 8 on the left-hand side. Now, it's really going to be a chore because we have to haul concrete bags up those hills, over the hill, and bring all our equipment over there too. We're not young men working up there. Well, we have one young guy, but the rest of us are, we're over the hill, so to speak.
I wouldn't say that to your face.
Some of us are. And the labor is intensive. But I've got a great group of guys that work up there, terrific guys. I can't say enough about them. They're dedicated. They're proud of what they do.
And they do fabulous work.
They do. They do. You have to give them credit. And I give them credit every chance I get. The interesting thing that happened to us towards the end of last year was I got a phone call one night, and this man says, is this Roger Urban? I said, yes, it is. He said, are you the fellow with the cemetery work? I said, yes, I am. He said, my name's Tom Bernard, and I'd like to come up and spend a day with you guys. I said, well, sure, come on up, and we'll show you around. He said, no, you misunderstand me. He said, I want to come up there to work. And by God, he did. And I have to give him credit for that. And the nice thing about it is he knows what we're up to now and what we're facing. So it does make things a lot easier. Now, Dick was very much involved as well, but this just blew me right out of the saddle when he said that. That was great. Then we head over across the street. We've done over 900 stones on the north side. Pardon me. I expect that we'll be having at least that many on the south side. The south side appears to be in somewhat better shape, but there are some areas that really need help up there. It's the newer area of the cemetery, if you will. This book that I brought in is my Veterans Information book, which I found some amazing things in there. We have, for example, veterans buried at Hillside Cemetery for each and every war that the United States has been involved in, up through and including World War II. We do not have Korea or Vietnam, obviously, mainly because they ran out of room.
Yeah.
But
Isn't there still room in the Soldier Circle?
there is, but yeah, there is room at Soldier Circle. Now, how they would allocate that, I don't know. That's not up to me.
Yeah, I should think, well, of course, there's the inner circle, and then the outer circle is not complete, so there would be room in the outer circle.
Right, there's about, I would say, maybe 10 lots, 12 lots somewhere through there. And those are interesting in the fact that they represent each of the wars. It isn't just the First War, and that took up most of it. It's the Revolution, Civil War, Spanish-American War, World War I, and World War II. So it's a fascinating place to visit. We did put up a plaque on a stone. I think you were up at the dedication. Matter of fact, you spoke at the dedication.
Yeah.
And we did some plantings. We have to see if those have recovered from the winter. But we will be up there again in the early spring and try to make sure everything's copacetic. But there, it's lasted pretty well. It's handled the winter pretty well. We did have to take the flag down because it was tattered, torn, and we have a replacement, but we are not able to get up there and do it yet. So that's our plan for next year. Hopefully we'll be able to at least get the more visible portions done. That's what we intend to do first, is along the roadway. We do have to be careful in getting up there. You can't drive up there right now because the road is so gullied that a vehicle, even a four-wheeler, can't get up there. So I've worked with DPW, and we think we're going to be able to grade that and then take the millings that they have from digging up some of the streets and compacting those in that roadway. So hopefully that will help get some when we get traffic up through that area. So those are our plans for next year.
Do you have any intention of doing anything with the Johnson Vault?
I know what you're going to tell me, or I think I do. At present, no. I want to talk to you a little bit more about that. I know one thing you would like to do, and we'll see if that can happen. I don't see that that's an insurmountable task.
For those who don't know what we're talking about, the Johnson Vault is the city's oldest privately owned mausoleum. I believe it was built in the 1860s, thereabouts. It has bronze hinges and an incredible look. Yeah, even though it's all rusty, there's an incredible iron door there, and it has a skylight. It's about the same size as a manhole cover, and it had openings in it that were filled with beads of stained glass. And over the years, small boys were going up there and prying up bits of those. And when the city did some restoration efforts up there in, I believe it was the 90s, the 1990s, they were advised to cover that skylight to keep the rainwater out of there. And naturally, they did it by the most expedient method possible, which was to weld a steel plate on top of it. You know, and at that time, Cummings Studio, one of the best stained glass studios in the world, was here in North Adams. They could have gone to them and found out from them, where can we get glass beads to replace these that are gone? You know, they could have done that very easily. They could have put a piece of plexiglass over it so that, you know, at least then you would still have the skylight, but they didn't. So, of course, what I'd like to see is I'd like to see that plate taken off, and if not the beads themselves replaced, then cover it with a piece of plexiglass.
You may not believe this, but that is in my notes. That's one of the things we want to take a look at and see if we can accomplish. As far as restoring the rest of the vault, that's not really in our purview.
Mm-hmm. Well, I wouldn't expect the vault to be repaired. I mean, it was repaired in the 1990s.
Mm-hmm.
It would be interesting to see it opened and cleaned, but I think that would be a long-term project.
Right.
You know, you'd have to go up with WD-40 or something and treat those hinges every day for, say, a month or two before anyone would feel comfortable with risking them breaking.
Right.
Because if those hinges break, there's no fixing them.
We may be able to, the stones are our primary focus. We may be able to do something with the doors as far as cleaning them and bringing them, bringing them back a little bit. But again, that's kind of low on the totem for what we have to do up there. It's fascinating that the architecture involved in that vault is very interesting, as you mentioned. Even more than I think the Tinker Vault. Tinker Vault is, it is what it is.
Yeah, it's a modern vault.
Yes, yes. And that is still, obviously you can still get in that one. I mean, if someone wanted to do that and was able to get permission. But
oh, I remember, well, I guess it's opened regularly for cleaning purposes, to sweep it out and so on. But I remember it was during the restoration effort. It was opened so that Bill Cummings of Cummings Studio could get in there and examine the stained glass window, because there was some thought that it might be a Tiffany window. Turns out that it's not, but it's a nice transition piece.
Right.
Now, I don't know if that means transitioning to Tiffany or away from Tiffany.
That lot in the vault is the responsibility of All Saints Church. Now, we have come to an agreement with All Saints that we would take care of the stones. They are responsible for, I believe it's 5 and possibly 6 lots. I have them somewhere. And we have done the work on all but one of them, and that's the night lot. And the night lot is one of those that we're going to be starting on the first thing of the year. I mentioned the night lot. Paul knows about that lot. That is the oldest stone up there was Mr. Knight's daughter,
Yes.
Olive, I believe it was.
Yes, Olive Knight.
Yeah, and that was when it was just a private piece of land. And little by little, that lot got developed with the family members, and up to and including the Tinkers. There are people from the Tinker family buried in that area.
And
So-
the reason for that is Giles Tinker, who had a lot to do with starting the cotton industry here in North Adams, married one of the Knight daughters, Zilpah, and of course she became Zilpah Tinker, and her youngest son, Edward Richmond Tinker, is the patriarch of the family that's down in the vault.
Now, Richard
That
Knight,
was not for your benefit.
No.
It was for the benefit of the one person out there who's watching us.
I don't know, who knows? Richard Knight, of course, is one of the soldiers of the Revolutionary War. I'm trying to find out more about the soldiers that we have, and I believe there are 6
Now,
of them.
actually, I don't think. Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, Richard Knight was a soldier in the
Right.
Revolution.
My understanding is they went up to participate in the Battle of Bennington, the group from North Adams. Now, how far they got and what they did, I have no clue, and I haven't been able to find anything about it. But I'm still trying to pursue that. So if anybody knows anything, give us a call. Or get us
Yes, please.
drop us a line.
664-4408.
Yeah.
Now, I have a suggestion to throw at you, and then I have a question for you.
Okay.
Since looking after the Johnson Vault is not high on your list.
It's not on my list yet.
All right. Ow! It hit me. I wonder if some people from McCann could be sent to look at that door and see what could be done with that.
Excellent idea.
Just to clean it up, make the door look better. And I'm not sure that anything can be done to make it look better. It's an iron door, and it's been outdoors for well over 100 years. So that's the suggestion. Now, you told me, was it last week or 2 weeks ago, that the Tinker Fund provides for 5 lots.
All Saints.
Wait a minute. I'm
No.
sorry?
All Saints. The Tinker Fund
Okay.
actually covers the entire cemetery. I'm glad you brought that up, because I just want to read a very quick, short paragraph, because there's some people, and at least one, that doesn't understand why we are able to use the Tinker Fund money to do what we're doing up there. And this is a letter that I have from Herbert Anderson, who's a lawyer of the Irving Trust, and they are people who manage that fund. It says a so-called Tinker Charitable Fund makes provision with respect to Hillside Cemetery in general, in that trust agreement directs specific remittances to the City of North Adams, keep exclusively for the maintenance or operation of the cemetery. And that's as far as some people get. The continuance of these remittances rests upon the condition that the City of North Adams, in fact, keep Hillside Cemetery in good order and condition. And we understand good order to include reasonable care and condition. We understand good order to include reasonable care of the cemetery grounds, with attention to existing plantings and such attention to existing grave markers and memorials as will ensure the cemetery is at all times presentable. So we are properly using the money that we get. And I hope
Well, I
we can
never
put
had
that-
any doubt of
I
that.
hope we can put that to rest. My main interest initially was the veterans that are up there, and there are a lot of them.
Oh,
There are
yes.
a lot of them. We're looking at the possibility down the road, and I'm going to veer off the subject for just a second, and that's of doing wreaths across America for the 3 cemeteries here. Yeah, 3 cemeteries in North Adams, and some of the ladies involved are from
Actually, there are
Vermont.
more than just 3.
Well, the ones that the city owns. The city does own Blackington now, but they do not own St. Joseph's, but we do take care of the veterans up there. And I believe the city, on occasion, when they have the opportunity, will mow up there. Although I have seen other people, private individuals, mowing, which is good. That's a tough place to work. It's very wet and soggy. But anyhow, doing the veterans led me to find out that a lot of the stones need help. A lot of them need help. And we've done some pretty remarkable things when you come right down to it. We have replaced some stones that are 700 or 800 pounds on the base alone, and another 700 or 800 pounds for the stone itself. And that's when we use our tripod. And we made good use of that.
Well, frankly, I think that any work that's done with resetting stones is incredible, because they do weigh enormous amounts. And I know that I would love to have been here in the 1920s and watched the, oh drat, I can't remember the name of the family, but they own a hill in Southview. And there's this monument, it's huge. It goes up about 30 feet. There's a base that's, I would say 8 feet wide, 8 feet to a side. Then there's a smaller one that's 7 feet to a side. And I think a smaller one, and then the shaft. And just getting the shaft up that hill must have been incredible.
Amazing. And yet we have some up on the hill that are older and, probably not quite as tall. But it had to be a remarkable thing to get it up the hill and then, have it set in place. So of course, we don't have the horses that they had. So I imagine some of that was done by horsepower and winches and whatever they could manage. But they truly are a fascinating place, both Southview and Hillside and Blackington. Just in who's there and the history involved. We actually have a general who's buried at Hillside.
Yep. Andrew Richmond.
A Civil War general.
Didn't think I'd get it, did you?
No,
By the way,
we
we are a little over a half hour into the show. If you have a comment for us or an announcement, or you think you know where this railroad crossing was, please give us a call, 664-4408.
One of the things that I can do in my spare time is if you think that you have a relative buried at Southview who's a military person or was a military person, Civil War, Revolutionary War, I don't care, drop me a note and I can let you know where that gravesite is and probably give you a little sketch as to how to get there if you want to do that. I'm more than happy to do that, and I've done it on a couple of occasions for people. I do have maps which cover each and every grave up there, each and every grave site. They are old. I've had to redraw them. I was questioned as to why I was walking around originally with a clipboard, and that's one of the reasons, is to find out who's there and where these things were located. But the clipboard has been put to rest. I haven't used it in months.
Wow.
Years, actually. And anybody who thinks we don't work up there is welcome to come up and lend a hand.
Absolutely.
So we're always looking for any help we can get. Even if you can make it once in a blue moon, that's fine. Just come up for a day, see what we do.
Blue moon.
We also get some
You
help
saw
from.
me standing alone,
Here we go.
without a dream in my heart. Sorry.
Very talented man. We also get some help with the trial court people. These are folks who have done something and have to pay their debt to society by spending hours in public service. And in the summertime, they do come up and help us quite a bit.
And you've had students from MCLA.
We've had students from MCLA, Williams College, have both sent people to help us on their day of service, and we give them a quick little brief summary and a little history lesson, and they go about their way. And one of the things I've been quizzing them on from Williams is where Ephraim Williams is buried, because everyone thinks he's still back in New York State, and he is not. He's at the chapel at Williams College. And our alumni who are on the city council and another office I just won't mention, I gave them what we looked up to find out where Ephraim really is. He has kind of an interesting history himself, which goes back to earlier wars before the Revolution.
Yes, the French and Indian Wars.
Yeah.
When you mention Fort Massachusetts, then we're talking about the Third and Fourth French and Indian Wars, and then the Revolution.
And King Philip's War.
Oh, yes.
We do have Mr. Nims, who's buried up there. He's
Well, his vertebra
his
are
vertebra
buried
is
there,
buried
right
up
there.
there, I should say, to be absolutely correct. And that's buried near Soldiers Circle. When you go up, if you go up, you may find when the flags, the veterans' flags are out, we do put a British flag at his grave, because he was not, nobody was an American at
That's
that point
right,
in time,
yeah.
other than, geographic name. We do have another interesting point, and it isn't at Hillside, but down at Southview Cemetery, we have, and we found them quite by accident, two graves of one was an airman, and I believe it was World War I, and the other one was an infantryman. They were both in the British Army and the Royal Air Force. And we do mark their graves accordingly if we can. It's hard to get the British flag sometimes, the small ones. This year we're going to try to do something different and get a Revolutionary War flag for our soldiers of the Revolution. We haven't been able to do it in the past, but this one, I think we can go up to Bennington and possibly get some up there. Maybe it may say 76 on it, which is not the correct flag, but we'll do it. That's really what our thoughts are for the cemetery this year.
That sounds fabulous.
Again, we'd love to have any help. If you want a quick tour around, come on up and we'll break off, and one of our guys or I will take you around and show you some of the sites. There's some very interesting things up there. I like to start off with the Isabel Stone, which is a fascinating piece of work.
Oh, gorgeous. This is probably the wrong thing to say when talking about a cemetery, but it's drop dead gorgeous.
It is beautiful. I'm sure it's unique. I'm sure there's nothing like it anywhere else in the world.
I don't know about that. The Haynes Monument, certainly, but you have to remember the thing about statues is they are made to order, but they're bought through catalogs. You look through the catalog, you find something you like. I can't remember the name of the family, but there's down the hill toward Brown Street from the Tinker Vault, there's a nice marble statue of a young woman. She's seated, she's holding a small funeral wreath, she's wearing a flowing gown, her feet are bare, and so on. That was purchased from a catalog. You look in the catalog, you find the one you want, you put in the features that you want, and then they carve it to order. And I think that's what happened with the Isbell family. They looked through the catalog, oh, we like this dead tree. These are the features we want with it, and so that was carved especially for them.
Okay. I've never seen one.
I'm sure there aren't too many others like it out there.
It's quite something. It's about, what, 9, 10 foot tall?
I would say probably 8 feet tall.
You're going to call me a liar for 1 foot. Okay, that's all right, Paul.
Ow!
What this is, it's as Paul mentioned, it's a dead tree. But the features of the tree have been carved in it, so if it was brown, it'd be so realistic.
Yeah.
It's just gorgeous.
Where the branches have fallen off,
Yep.
you can see and feel the texture of the wood. you can see and feel the texture of the bark, and there are patches where the bark has fallen off,
Right.
and there are names carved in there. And then at the bottom, there's a spray of ferns and a vine of, I think it's ivy, that goes all the way around up to the top. It's absolutely incredible. If you've never seen that, make a point of going there this spring or in the summer.
It's easy to get to. It's not up a hill. It's in the lower part of the cemetery, so it's easy to get to. The other interesting thing is last year we had a number of foreign visitors come by and get out and start walking around, because some of the things that we have up there, they have never seen in Europe. And one of the ladies said, "Why are all of the flags out here?" So I explained to her what we do with our veterans' graves. And they were fascinated. They were from Denmark. So, you know, we do see people up there occasionally that want to come around and take a look. And one of the things we're thinking about doing, now this is down the road a ways, is taking Paul's cemetery walk and making an electronic version of it, where they can take their cell phone or whatever the gadget they got and walk around, and it will tell them, well, you go to number 16, and there'll be a post there with a 16 on it, and it'll explain the history behind that particular grave. So I think that would be, maybe that's a project we can get one of the colleges to work on.
Yes, great idea.
Now, I also had comments about the signs that we put up, that they should have been made at McCann's. Well, I don't want to be a person that brings the news to folks, but they were made at McCann's. Painted them.
Didn't you just bring the news to folks when you said that?
Yes, probably.
So you're calling yourself a liar?
No. I may prevaricate a bit. Anyhow, but we've had a lot of compliments on those signs.
Yeah, they're gorgeous.
This year we did put up some wreaths, 2 on each signpost. We have to retouch the gold on them this year because it's gotten a little bit faded. And we actually made those things, we designed them, had them made at McCann's, and then McCann's helped make 2 for Blackington. So or 1 for Blackington. If you go up to Blackington Cemetery, you'll see a copy of the sign. Theirs is done in black with gold lettering. And that cemetery is being restored. Now, I don't have anything to do with that one because I'm busy enough with what I have. But Larry Burdick, who works with us, Larry's one of the chief architects where we are, decided that he would like to take that on, and so they did. They have, I believe they go up there on either a Monday or a Friday. I'm not sure which. So they've done a great job up there doing what they do. Cut down a lot of brush, found a lot of stones hidden in the brush. I hear a phone.
So do I. It might be a call for the studio, but
I see.
not for us. But I'm hoping I'll see call coming up there.
That would be nice.
It would be very nice.
Yeah. Anyhow, this book here that I put together, these are all the veterans involved. This is the alphabetical listing.
Oh, and we do have a phone call.
Wonderful.
Good evening. Welcome to Porch Talk. You're on the air. Hello.
Hello, how are you tonight?
Doing well, thank you. How are you?
Good. My name is Herb West. I have moved here about 2 months ago from upstate New York. And
sorry, whereabouts?
I have something we all should do. We had a small cemetery back home, and one day I went up in the cemetery and I looked for the oldest and the most beat up headstone I could find, and it was way back in the 70s. And I adopted that stone, and what I did was I took care of the trimming, and I also had flowers all around that every year. Now I'm up here. Now I'm up here in North Adams, and I just hope somebody continues my work that I've done there on that stone. It just looked gorgeous, you know.
Yeah, that is an interesting idea.
Yes, it is.
Yes, and it doesn't take much time, you know. It's something that's
Right.
it's quick, you know. Hey, I enjoy your show. Thank you very much for your time.
Well, thank you. Have a great
Okay,
night.
maybe I'll talk to you again sometime.
Oh, let's
Great.
hope so.
Okay, have a good nice night. Nice night.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
One of the interesting things is the gentleman made me think about it was that when we first started working up there, we very seldom saw flowers. Now we're starting to see people bringing flowers through either their family sites or whatever, and it's amazing. It's amazing. The interest that's there now. A lot of these folks, the families are gone. You know, there's nobody to take care of the lot, nobody to take care of the stone. We are cleaning the stones as we go along. I have a young lady who's Ed Marino's, let's see if I get this straight now, granddaughter,
Yes.
Lily, and she's become our guru on stone cleaning. And when we have the students down, the women go with her and they clean stones, and she shows them how and tells them what to do and how to do it.
Yeah, she's a sweet kid.
Yes, she is. And when we had our dedication for Johnny Atwood's plaque, she read the Gettysburg Address from memory. From memory.
Well, you mean she recited it from memory?
Correct. What am I going to do with this guy? Anyhow, but she's a real asset, and I know she makes Ed crazy sometimes. Are we going to go to the cemetery? Am I going to go this week? Are we going to do this week? You know, she's very enthusiastic, and we love to have her. She has her own cart now.
Terrific.
Yep.
Now, that reminds me, you're still looking for some kind of a vehicle,
Yes,
either a four-wheel drive or, better yet, an ATV.
we're looking for a used ATV. I don't care what kind of shape it's in as long as it's running and is reasonably priced. Reason being is none of us are getting any younger, and we're having to haul
Frankly, I don't know anyone who is.
80-pound bags of concrete up these hills. Takes a lot out of us. So it would be a big help, especially when we start working on
Yeah.
the south
And
side.
for that matter, getting the water up there.
The water is the same thing.
Yeah, because water is heavy.
Now, we do have several hoses that we can hook up and at least shorten the length between the end of the hose and the stone that we're working on. But the concrete is the big thing. And if anybody has one, you can give me a call, or if you know Ed Marino, give Ed a call, or Larry Burdick, you can give Larry a call, or even call down to City Hall and let them know.
For that matter, give me a call.
Or Paul.
Yeah, and I will pass the word along, happily.
I mean, we would love to have something like that. Larry is a pretty good hand with making things run. So I'm sure that even if it's not running and doesn't take too much
Made
work,
me run a few times.
he can fix it for us. But yeah, we would love to have something like that. That would be wonderful. If you don't think it's needed, come on down. We'll give you an 80-pound bag of concrete and set you up the smallest hill and see how that works. It's hard to do.
Yeah, I know.
I'm getting too old for
Just walking up that hill is
a killer.
difficult for me these days.
And I'm getting a little bit old to be doing that. So
Ooh,
Ooh,
sounds like
how
there's
about
another
that?
phone call coming. Let's hope so. So what can we do to sound intelligent while we're waiting to get the message we had a phone call?
now that's a problem.
Well, let me see here. That building is still there in the photo, and we do have a phone call. Good evening, and welcome to Porch Talk. You're on the air.
Hi, Paul. Hi, Roger.
Hello.
I have three things. Yeah, I have an ATV that I think you might want to use. I'll talk to Paul about it later. Paul, yes, you are already on channel 1301. your channel now, and
joy.
channel 16's on 1302, and of course 17's on 1303. It's already on there.
Now, how did that happen?
And Roger, you make good use of McCann Tech. When you're speaking about McCann's, there's no S, it's just McCann. So
Okay.
McCann is the place to go. They'll fix your doors for you. They'll build your signs. The students there, they have this thing called Skills USA, and they're always looking for projects to do, so maybe you can tap into that resource as well. But just wanted to tell you about these things, and I'll talk to Paul after the show about the ATV.
Terrific.
Sounds great. Thank you, Bob.
And I appreciate the heads up on McCann.
McCann,
Technical
that's
school.
it, McCann.
So, Bob, do you have
Yes, sir.
Do you have a guess about the railroad crossing?
Hold on one second. It looks like right down by American Legion, looking at the old Richmond Hotel.
Oh, close, but no cigar. But you are right. It is the old State Street crossing. If we take
Right.
the phone number
I can
off,
see the mountains in the background. Those mountains usually foliage turns first.
yeah, but the hotel that you see there is not the Richmond Hotel. That's the Mansion House.
Oh, okay.
It was another hotel. It was further to the south than the Richmond was.
Gotcha. Well, you can't win them all, Paul.
That's true. Ooh, we've disappeared.
Okay, that's it. That's
We
what I
must
want
be
to tell you, and I'll
invisible.
call you later on about the ATV.
Thank you very much. We
Thank you,
appreciate
Bob.
it.
Have a good evening. Keep up the good work. Appreciate
you.
your help.
So, well, isn't that great?
Yeah, I'm excited about this.
Yes, Bob's a good egg.
Bob is,
A bit cracked, but good, yeah.
I'm going to let you say it. I don't know Bob that well. Or,
Well, you know, I was there at his retirement party, and they were doing a roast. And I didn't think of the really good roast thing to say until afterward, you know, that the roast is not a good idea because at 15 minutes per pound, we'll all be here until next year.
Paul, you're amazing.
And when I told him that, he said, "Oh, you should have said it at the party."
I will say one more thing about the cemetery, and it's if you have the opportunity and you know how to do it, go to Paul's website, to our neighbors, and it gives you a wonderful opportunity to see exactly what we're talking about, and it gives you a little highlight of different people, and it's really a great website to
And
visit.
for that matter, well, the website is www.paulwmarino.org. If you leave out the W, you're not going to get there.
Right.
But also, if you go to Great Moments in Local History, you can take the hillside tour virtually. It's in 2 parts, so when you get to the end of part 1, there's a link to part 2. Gee, your pen is
My
trying
pen
to
is
escape.
running away on us. That's great, but the website is really good information. I've told people about it who are expressing interest, but can't make the climb and make the walk because it is getting a little difficult.
Yeah, I'm getting to that point too.
It's interesting to note in that regard that the north side of the cemetery used to be terraced. And we have an old photograph that shows the terracing, and I guess it made it a little bit easier to do what they did up there. Unfortunately,
Well, I know it's terraced on the west side,
yes.
but I don't remember seeing terraces on the front or on the south or on the east side.
There are certain times of the day and the year, if you look carefully, you can see just where the terraces were. Most of them have already eroded away, unfortunately, because that does a job on the stones, too. So that's one of the things we deal with is gravity is no friend of ours up there.
Well, we'll have to get you some stone blocks so you can put the terraces back in.
That's not in our plans, Paul.
Oh.
We were thinking about some stairs, maybe, but not stone blocks.
Heck with stairs, put in an escalator.
An escalator. Then you'd have to provide the power.
Solar power. Or wind. I can go there and give a
water
speech.
Power. Oh, gosh.
I can out-talk most politicians.
It really is. This has been, I hate to say it, but a labor of love for me. I've really enjoyed every minute that we've been up there. You learn a lot.
Well,
as I'm still
I
learning.
think it shows in the work that you do.
Thank you.
It's fabulous work. It's important work, and I don't know what we're going to do when you're gone.
I haven't planned on leaving yet, but
Good.
you never know.
I think we need to put a clause in your contract that you may neither move, retire, or die until the work is all done at Hillside and Southview.
We're not going to do Southview. That's not our thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you finish with Hillside, then we'll send you to do Southview.
If something happens to me, I know there are two guys up there that are really willing and able to take care of things. So we've kind of not planned that out. I don't plan on leaving in the near future, but one never knows.
That's true.
Did find out that one other interesting, I'll leave it at this. Most of the times when you see the Civil War, their soldiers, we found two Civil War petty officers and were buried up there, which I didn't know before. And going through the records, and I have to go to the government records to get the information on them, there they were. Well, there's still an awful lot of them. I can't find out what unit they were in and what they did. And some of them were in 5 or 6 different units during their time in the service.
Yeah, that was common.
Yeah.
Well, you know, there's another name. I don't remember it off the top of my head, but he was a member of the North Adams chapter of the GAR, Grand Army of the Republic. And in the Civil War, when the Civil War started, he was the chief engineer on the Anna and Henry Lewis, which was made over into a battleship. So he stayed on as chief engineer and taught the Navy people how to run the ship. So it'd be interesting to see if he is in Hillside.
Know his name?
Not off the top of my head,
Let me
but
know, and
it's on my website. We can check it before you go.
Okay.
And we have a little over a minute to go, so I am going to do a quick run through of the announcements one more time, at least as many as I have time for. If you want questions about what the plans are for the flood control chutes, actually flood protection chutes, Hoosick River Revival is having 2 question and answer sessions. Wednesday, February 21, 11:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Community Center. Wednesday, February 28, 5:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. at the Green, 87 Main Street. And the Northern Berkshire Community Coalition monthly forum on mental health and youth will be held Monday, February 26, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. at the Green, 87 Main Street, North Adams. And we are just about out of time. I have just enough time to say thank you, Roger, for coming. I love having you here. We'll have to have you back again sometime.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you for watching. And sorry Ed couldn't be here, but he will be here again in 2 weeks or so. And take care.
Sayonara.